What's up YouTube, this is Redbeard's Garage, and in today's video we're going to be building the 200cc shifter cart. Oh yeah! Well, today we're finally building a shifter cart. Everybody's been asking 7,000 times, so here it is. It's not a two-stroke like we want to do, but a two-stroke engine is like $1,000, and I'm not spending that on a go-kart motor right now. So instead I got this 200cc Li-Fan motor. This is for an ATV, so it does have reverse. It has a 4-speed transmission and a clutch, so it should be an awesome engine on our off-road Murray build. We're putting this on the Murray that the engine messed up and we built an awesome race seat on. If you don't remember the video's playing on screen right now. And then we're going to mount this engine up with the Go Power Sports engine plate. So basically if we turn this engine plate upside down, it'll slide on the original engine plate, allowing us to tension up the chain for this engine. So that's going to work out really nice, and we can make an adjustable shift linkage. So once we get it tensioned up, we can adjust it out, and then if the chain stretches over time, we can adjust it again. We're going to run a Hammerhead performance muffler for a 150cc go-kart because they sound awesome. They're kind of an expensive muffler, but I feel like if you was buying Two Brothers Racing muffler or something, you're spending the same amount as you'd spend on this really nice, well-made muffler. So that's what we chose to go with. I have a brand new key and carburetor and a wiring harness for a 200cc ATV. So we should have everything we need to throw this on the Murray. So without further ado, let's get it done. So as you see, this is the Go Power Sports engine plate. We got it flipped upside down and it lines up, of course, perfect with those. It's the same width really, and that'll allow us to adjust the engine forward and back. So we can weld our brackets onto here to bolt the engine up. So if you remember these A-arms we took off the 670, these was the upper A-arms. We're gonna reuse them in a later video on this go-kart. We'll have to cut them down and make it shorter because this will make it way too wide of a front end. It would look sweet, but it'd be wider than we need. And then we're gonna add suspension to the rear of this go-kart in the later video. So stay tuned for that. This go-kart's gonna get better and better. We'll do a full roll cage back on it again. That's a little bit stronger than the factory Murray roll cage that just bolted on. Now we're gonna set this engine on here and see which way is gonna be best to mount this thing. The only thing that's going to suck is the exhaust comes out the front of the head right at the seat. So we're going to have to do a 90, and bend it around the head and shoot it out the back.
And the sprocket's on this side, so we'll have to move the sprocket over here.
Yeah, I've already seen that, and I'm probably going to have to cut this whole axle off. They're a son of a gun getting these things off because it's rusted under it. No, it's just a pipe. Every Murray I've ever messed with, you got to cut the axle off. So we'll probably be upgrading to a wider axle on this as well, but biggest thing is get the engine mount and the shifter linkage made, and then I can worry about the axle.
Sliding back will be later. Tension the chain.
Okay, so we need to start furthest forward.
It's furthest forward now.
Okay, it is.
Okay. I guess we need to lift it up and put something under it to
keep it the height we need it.
Right.
We have a longer engine plate than that.
In other words, use this then.
Yeah, pull that up. That 200cc, you got some weight to it. A lot more than a Predator.
Huh? Probably about 90 pounds.
Yeah, about 90-pound motor, which is insane, but it's transmission and everything built in one. So we was going to use the small Go Power Sports engine plate, but we're actually switching to the larger one. That's going to give us more surface area to weld our brackets to mount that engine up. So there's the engine sitting in the back right there on top of that engine plate. And that'll allow us to be able to move the engine back to tension the chain. Now we got to figure out how we're gonna, there's 4 mounts, 2 on the rear, there's one there, and there's 2 on the front there and there. But we'll probably only utilize 2 of them, one on each side.
We need to make one that hooks here and here and comes down. Just make it right, about 2 inches long here.
Yeah.
Go ahead and get them bolted on, set down there and tacked on, then we can
adjust it out. And remember, we got to get make it high enough to be able to get the bolts and nuts on that engine plate. And we'll probably have to put the bolts from the bottom when we do it, most likely. No, we won't. We just have to unbolt the motor off the engine plate too. But yeah, as long as we leave enough room to slide a wrench in here so we can loosen it to tension chains.
I think 2 inches would be plenty.
Yeah, we'll be good. So let's start fabbing it up.
Go slow.
So we had to open this hole up, all 4 actually. So we're not going to use all 4 engine mounts, but just in case we ever want to use it in the future, they'll already be opened up. So since this is an ATV motor, it normally hangs inside the ATV's frames. So what we're going to do is we took these spindles for the front of a go-kart and we cut them in half and cut 1 inch out of the center. So now we can bolt this to the engine, tack it back into place, and then this can be our clamps for the back and front engine mounts. So these are pretty handy. You need to buy a couple sets of these to keep in your garage. And then we can take a piece of square tubing or round pipe, whatever we want to, and come up and touch this to make the mount on front and rear. So that's what we're doing now. We need to grind a little bit more off of this, and then we need to clamp it. I think are we gonna use the lower one?
Yes, for now.
So we can clamp this. Once you can see, I still need to grind a little. There's a gap right there, but we can clamp that in, put a bolt and nut on it, and then tack this back. Should work perfect. We're only gonna use the 1 mount on the front, 1 on the rear for now. I think that'll be plenty. Should work awesome though. So we'll grind this a little bit further down and we'll pull the camera out when we're tacking it. So for ignition, we got a key switch that you just click on, and then we got the ATV style push button starter. So we're gonna have to mount that up front somewhere. So what I'm gonna end up doing is pulling this kill switch out that we have mounted in here, and then we can see how big we're gonna have to drill this hole to fit this in there. Looks like it's gonna have to go up a couple sizes. The only thing I'm worried about is this hole is off centered. It's, you know, kind of been drilled down there, so I don't know about that. That's what worries me with it. And then this is made to go on handlebars that are 7/8 of an inch, so not quite an inch. And I'm not sure, this seems like a hair bit over an inch. We're gonna see if we can clamp this on to right here, you know, under the steering wheel, and that should be a good spot for that. So let's see if we can drill this out. I tell you, these Murray frames must be made out of tungsten carbide. This freaking thing did not want to drill, but we got it. I ruined a brand new bit. So what I'm gonna have to do is grind out a notch in the top with a Dremel. You see how this, let me pull this back out. This key fob has a little tooth right there. This key has a little tooth right there, and we got to notch out the frame for that real fast. Okay, so there we go. These are a little bit of a pain when you take them apart because they're kind of a 2-piece type deal. I'm really hoping it'll clamp. No, not quite. We'll find a different spot for that here in a jiff. Brandon went to go get some 1/2-inch bolts. We drilled this hole out to a 1/2 inch because that's what the Go Power Sports spindle mounts are, is a 1/2-inch hole, and this was a hair bit smaller. This is probably some weird metric size. So Brandon went to the part store to get 5-inch long 1/2-inch bolts. That'll be perfect to bolt these up on each side, then we can tack it in the middle, and then we can start making the arm that's going to go down and hold weld to this engine plate, you know, so we can still allow to adjust the tension on the chain. So this engine didn't come with the shifter lever. So I'm really hoping one of these dirt bikes outside. I have one dirt bike with a blown up or locked up motor on it. I'm hoping it has a shifter lever that'll work on this engine because it did not come with one, which I was surprised. I would think it would come with one, but it did not. So that's going to be unfortunate if we don't have one, because we're going to have to order it and then wait, 2 or 3 days for that to come in. But we can go ahead and get the motor mounted. We can get everything else done and order that if that is the case. So let's get this done. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Got me butterfingers. Don't you have an impact?
Mm-hmm. Call me old-fashioned.
I understand if it's getting paid by the hour. Perfect.
One more.
That'll work for now.
So this one's the go-kart setting a little unlevel, but if we look at the engine up here, it's
a little more unlevel.
A little more, so we need to cut a tack off this and tilt the engine over.
See if you can get in here and cut this one.
We need to switch places.
Oh,
you got
okay.
the wheel and that one off.
Safety first.
Yep.
Where the bubbles touching that line.
That way. Keep going. Keep going. A little more. A little more. Right there.
More.
No,
The engine mounts flexing too.
Yeah. Right there. Lock it up.
Yeah. Just tack it. We'll look at it. So now we can pull this engine plate off, fully weld everything, and then the engine can be bolted back on. The only thing I don't like is how hard it is to get to the bolts under this backside. So I'm probably going to notch these ears on the engine plate so we can slide a wrench in there, and it should be perfect. But yeah.
Golden.
So I'm trying to get this axle off. It's probably going to be a son of a gun because it's all rusty and seized on there. But the problem is we're going to make a jack shaft to set behind the engine. So basically we can, if you look at how the sprocket comes out, there's no way if we put a sprocket here, if we'd have shifted the engine over, it still wouldn't have cleared this shifter linkage right here.
Or the casting of the motor.
Yeah, or the casting of the motor, where the axle rides and where the engine has to be mounted. The engine have to be in front of the axle for that to work. So what we're doing is, Brandon cut up this while ago. This piece of metal will weld in right there, and we can make some holes for a jack shaft to slide back and forth in these pillow blocks right here. So this will have a pillow block on each side that'll slide back and forth with a jack shaft going through it. So we can basically tension up this sprocket to the jack shaft and then tighten it all down, and that's a solid unit right there. And then we can tension the chain up from the jack shaft to the sprocket by sliding the engine forward or back. Should work out pretty good. I didn't see no other way to make it. Did you, Brandino?
Using a four-wheeler or a motorcycle motor, pretty much you got to use the jack shaft.
Unless you had the engine way in front of the axle, it would have worked out. Long go-kart. So I'm trying to take this old sprocket off right now. And Brandon's making the other side engine.
Beautiful.
Okay. Now drill the hole and it'll be fancy pants. And this sucks.
Well, I kindly messed up. Should have used a wider piece here, so I'm adding on to it.
And we really wanted to reuse that axle, but that thing is seized on there. like a son of a gun, and I was afraid of that. That's why I go power sports axles. They are, I think, nickel plated, and they do not. I've never had one rust on me. They'll corrode a very small amount if you leave them out in the weather for a long time, but I've had no problems getting them off of a go-kart after installing a Go Power Sports axle. Now, BMI Kart's axle that I bought, a 48-inch custom axle, that thing was rusted, as I've said in other videos. When I got it out of the box from it being shipped, that was pretty crappy. When that happens.
The whole blade broke.
How about you just hold that wheel and I'll twist this wheel. You twist the other way, see if we can break it.
Which way are you going?
I'll go this way.
Alright.
Oh, now what?
What's up, babies? Oh my goodness, now. Think about that, Brandino. So we got these engine plates all welded and grinded down. We're gonna slap them on this motor. You gonna grab it? It ain't too bad. Get that bolt in the
They might not be the prettiest, but we don't have machines, so.
Yeah, we don't have no fancy lathes and stuff.
One day.
Hopefully, well, it'll be a while before we have one here. You're standing on it. Now the bearings can bolt there, slide back and forth for chain tension to tension the jack shaft to the engine, and then we'll have a sprocket out here that runs to the sprocket. And hopefully we don't run into any issues. You know, this is what, 5/8 spring?
You said a sprocket out here that runs to the sprocket.
Yeah, we'll have a sprocket on the jack shaft. Yeah, so there'll be a sprocket on this jack shaft running down to the axle, the sprocket on the axle, and then a sprocket on the other side of the jack shaft going to the engine. We're just hoping that, you know, the overhang, you know, isn't going to be a weak spot for this to bend, but that shouldn't happen. It'd have to get in some sort of bind. The chain would have to kick and yank.
Yeah.
And I have did that. I have warped a torque converter.
You want to just drop, hang on, you got your back in.
Oh, are they out a little bit? So, that'll ride about like that. Let me grab some 3/8 bolts. You can kind of show them around that. That's all we got. That's all we got. And this engine, the sprocket that comes on this engine is a number 40, I believe. So now we have to source, hopefully Go Power Sports
Let's
can get
slide
us.
it all the way to one side, either all the way in or all the way out.
Slide it all the way in, because that'll be the way. So there'll be a sprocket on the jack shaft here. We may have to put this on the inside, Brandon. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to put this pillow block on the inside because of where the sprocket has to be. But we need to find a number 40 sprocket for this thing because the 420 is quite a bit difference between the sprockets. So yeah. This one YouTube channel, Boosted Boys, use this engine. You should be good. Just trying to pull that. Oh goodness. Brandon, calm down. Calm down. So now we got to pull this back apart and do a little bit more grinding that we wasn't anticipating.
That's what fabricating's all about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Welding and grinding. The story of my life.
Putting it together, taking it apart. Putting it together, taking it apart. Bye.
How cute is that gonna be?
Cuter than the button. You want that right there, Brandon?
It looks kind of crooked.
What, the RBG?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
we only got one side tack.
Go ahead and tack one side of that.
Okay. Straighten it up then, Becca.
The G, I think, needs to go down a tiny bit.
I think we got this whole build a little bit crooked.
Probably. So here's the shifter we're using. This is for a like a 1978, probably about that year. F100. It was F100 with 3 on the tree, and this was a kit to convert it to a floor shifter. And the guy just got it, and it was in the toolbox all scattered out. So he gave me the whole kit, and it was a bunch of flat stock ends like this. So it's really, I was like, yeah, that's some good metal. So this shifter's in it. So this is a shifter we're going to use for the go-kart. Need it.
You need a footprint gas pedal.
Well, I have one up on the wall. But it's going to mount about right there. You know, we don't know where exactly. We're about to throw the seat on it. And we got to find a bolt that'll fit this puppy pretty snug. And the bolt will be welded to the go-kart. We'll slide this on and put a nylon lock nut on it. Just tight enough. Yes, probably a Stover nut. Yeah, and then do you think we'll need to... Do you think the transmission alone will pull it back to home? Do you think we need a spring pulling each way?
It'll be alright. I don't
think it'll go back home?
Yeah.
We'll try it. That's what we'll do. The exhaust, that's the next thing. It's going to be kind of a pickle because the seat was so close.
Yeah.
But
so did you order the header pipe?
Yeah. But I got to order a header pipe because we're going to use that 150 muffler. So that's the next thing we got to do is I need to order some parts. We can't put the axle on right now because we're waiting on parts. We don't have no wheels because we're waiting on parts. We're waiting on parts for a lot of things right now. We'll get everything in. We'll start back on this build. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to come back next week where we'll continue this thing and hopefully be riding it very soon. We got the most...
I can't wait.
The hardest stuff's done, I think. The engine mount and that jack shaft mount we had to make.
Yeah,
to
the jack, coming up with the jack shaft thing took a little bit of thinking. Greg had smoke coming out of his ears and stuff.
Yeah. I was we didn't even think to, even if we would have got the sprocket on the motor past this, we still need a jack shaft.
Yeah, we still had to have a jack shaft.
So it was fine that we welded it like that, but yeah, so we'll keep on moving on this thing. Don't forget to support us on Patreon if you want to help out the channel. And yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Come back next week and we'll see you on the next one. Redbeard's Garage is powered by GoPowersports.com. Go Power Sports has a huge amount of awesome go-kart and mini bike parts, and when making your purchase, use the Redbeard discount code in the upper right-hand corner of your shopping cart to grab yourself a sweet deal. Hit that subscribe button and make sure the notification bell is on so you'll never miss another episode, and go check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Pinterest to stay up to date with the channel. Guys, always come back to Redbeard's Garage. I'm out.